My name is Rachel Summers. I am 32 years old, and I work as a nurse in a small hospital in Ohio. People always say I have a calm presence, the kind that keeps patients steady when everything around them feels like chaos. Maybe that is true, but last night, even my calm cracked. It was my sister Lily's birthday, a big family gathering at my parents' house. The table was covered with glittering boxes, ribbons, laughter, and flashing phones. Everyone had something to give or receive. Except me. My name was never called. No one handed me anything, not even a slice of acknowledgement. I sat there smiling, pretending the lump in my throat was not growing heavier with every laugh that ignored me. My hands trembled under the table, and I told myself not to cry. Not here. They thought I would stay silent forever. But this time, I had a surprise of my own. Before I tell you what happened next, I want to know, what city are you listening from, and what time is it right now? Subscribe if you have ever been treated like you did not belong. Sometimes, when I think about my family, the first image that comes to mind is their house, that perfectly trimmed lawn, the white shutters that always seemed freshly painted, the scent of my mother's rose candles drifting from the kitchen window. Everything looked perfect from the outside, but perfection in my family came with a price, one that I paid quietly for years. I live about 20 minutes away, in a small apartment near the hospital. It smells faintly of disinfectant and coffee most days, and the walls carry the echoes of night shifts and exhaustion. It is not much, but it is mine. No pretenses, no polished floors to impress guests. My parents' house, on the other hand, always felt like a stage. Every photo frame was positioned just right, every smile rehearsed. Lily loved that stage. She was born to stand in the center of it. Blonde curls, a laugh that could charm anyone, and a confidence my parents praised as if it were a miracle. Lily has presence, my mother used to say, brushing crumbs from the counter as if that single sentence explained everything. I had presence too, but mine was quieter, the kind that sits in the background holding everything together. When our father got sick 5 years ago, Lily had just started her master's program in marketing. She cried when she heard the news, but she did not come home. "I cannot miss midterms," she said over the phone, her voice trembling with just enough guilt to sound sincere. I stayed. I took the night shifts, cooked his meals, cleaned the house, and helped him walk when the chemo made him too weak to stand. I remember one night sitting beside his hospital bed, holding his hand while the machines beeped softly. He smiled at me through half-closed eyes and said, "You're my steady one. Rach. Always were." Those words warmed me like sunlight through a window. Faint, but enough. After he passed, the warmth faded quickly. My mother and Lily handled the funeral arrangements, or rather, they handled the parts that would be seen. Lily ordered white roses, my mother selected the guest list, and I filled out paperwork in the back room, signing my name on forms they never thanked me for. That was the pattern of our lives. They sparkled. I supported them. When Lily graduated, she posted photos of her parents cheering, all smiles and champagne. She captioned it, "Couldn't have done it without my amazing family." But I noticed I was cropped out of every picture. I was there, standing beside her with a camera in hand, but invisible, just like always. A few months later, Lily's graduation trip to Italy was paid in full by my parents. My mother called me that night. "You should be happy for her, Rachel. She's worked so hard." I swallowed my disappointment and said, "I worked hard too, Mom. I'm still paying off my nursing loans." There was a pause, and then her tone softened, almost patronizing. "Sweetheart, that's just what good daughters do. They handle things." Those words, "good daughters handle things," echoed in my mind for years. They were supposed to sound loving, but to me, they felt like a chain. Every time I visited home, I noticed the small differences. Lily's framed degrees on the wall, her travel photos on the mantelpiece. My achievements? Tucked into a drawer somewhere, probably under old receipts. Still, I tried. I kept showing up, bringing pies on Thanksgiving, volunteering to help with chores during holidays. I told myself it was fine, that love is not always loud, that maybe being the dependable one was enough. But every year it became harder to believe. Sometimes, on my drives back to my apartment, I would grip the steering wheel and whisper to myself, maybe one day, they will see me. But they never did. The night of that birthday party, when everyone got a gift except me, it was not just a missed gesture. It was the moment all those years of quiet endurance cracked open. It was not about the gift. It was about being erased, one small moment at a time. And deep down, something inside me whispered, maybe it was finally time to stop being the good daughter. The party was almost cinematic, the kind of evening that photographs well but feels hollow once the flash fades. String lights glowed across the backyard, wrapping around the oak trees like threads of gold. A hired violinist played softly near the fire pit, and the air smelled of vanilla cake and expensive perfume. My mother had outdone herself, as always. I arrived early, holding my gift carefully, a scrapbook I had spent weeks making. Each page told a story. Lily's first piano recital, our road trip to Michigan, the summer our father taught us to ride bikes. I had written little notes beside the photos, reminders of how deeply I once believed we were close. I tied it with a pale blue ribbon and placed it gently among the pile of glossy boxes and designer bags. When Lily appeared, everyone clapped as if royalty had arrived. Her fiancé, Daniel, poured champagne and kissed her cheek while my mother beamed proudly. "To my beautiful daughter," she said, "you deserve the world." I stood near the table, smiling, trying not to feel small. The gift opening began. One by one, Lily tore through the wrapping paper, diamond earrings from Daniel, a designer purse from Mom, a watch from our cousins. Gasps of admiration filled the air. I waited patiently, watching her hands move gracefully from one gift to another. Then, my scrapbook appeared in the pile. She picked it up briefly, looked at the cover, and smiled in that polite, almost distracted way people do when they have already decided something is not important. "Oh, this is from Rachel," my mother said. Lily laughed softly. "Aw, that's sweet. We'll look at this later. It's kind of personal, right?" The room chuckled lightly, as if she had said something endearing. My mother nodded and quickly shifted the conversation to Daniel's promotion at work, and just like that, my gift was placed aside, unopened, untouched, forgotten. The violinist kept playing. Someone popped another bottle of champagne. Laughter filled the space that I no longer seemed to belong in. I tried to swallow the ache in my throat, forcing my lips into a smile that felt foreign on my face. My palms were damp, my pulse thudding in my ears. Every laugh sounded louder, every clink of a glass sharper, like the room itself was mocking me. In that moment, I realized something painfully clear. I was invisible in a room full of people who shared my blood. Lily's fiancé raised his glass. "To Lily," he said proudly, "the most loved person in the family." Everyone cheered. My mother leaned in to kiss Lily's forehead. Even my father, quiet and reserved as he was, managed a half-smile in her direction. His eyes never met mine. I sat perfectly still, my fingers gripping the edge of my chair so tightly that my knuckles went white. Inside, I could feel something breaking, not in a loud, dramatic way, but like the slow cracking of glass under pressure. Then came the final sting. When the cake was brought out, the lights dimmed and everyone sang. Lily laughed, radiant, glowing in candlelight. The flames flickered, casting her in soft gold as she made her wish. I clapped like everyone else, though my hands trembled slightly. After the song, my mother began slicing the cake, chatting warmly with guests. Plates moved from hand to hand, sweet, creamy slices topped with strawberries. Everyone got a piece, everyone except me. No one noticed. I stared at the empty space in front of me, the faint scent of sugar hanging in the air. It should have been such a small thing, a slice of cake. But it was more than that. It was a message, unspoken yet clear. I was not part of the celebration. That was the moment the noise around me faded. My mother's voice, Lily's laughter, the clinking glasses, all of it became distant. as if I had slipped behind a wall of silence. And in that silence, something inside me shifted. I sat there, smiling for one final photo, the camera flash burning my eyes. I smiled, but I knew that was the last time I would ever let them treat me like I did not exist. They had forgotten me that night. But soon, they would remember. The drive home that night felt endless. The laughter from the party still echoed faintly in my ears, as if it had attached itself to me, refusing to fade. The city lights blurred through the windshield, streaks of gold and white melting into the rain. My fingers trembled on the steering wheel, and every muscle in my body ached from holding back tears. I refused to let them fall in front of them. When I finally parked outside my apartment, I sat there for several minutes, staring at the dashboard clock. The silence inside the car was heavy, the kind that amplifies every heartbeat, every breath. My reflection in the rearview mirror startled me. My mascara had run down my cheeks, my lipstick had smudged, and my eyes looked hollow, almost unrecognizable. For a long moment, I just stared at her, the woman who had spent her life waiting to be seen. And then, like a film reel flickering to life, memories began to play in my mind, my father's frail hand in mine. My mother said, "Good daughters handle things." Lily's laughter as she waved goodbye on her way to Italy. The graduation photos I was cropped out of. The unopened scrapbook is still sitting on that polished dining table. I felt something inside me fracture, but instead of breaking down, I went very, very still. The shaking stopped. My chest no longer burned. In its place came a strange, cold clarity, a quietness sharper than anger, steadier than grief. I looked into my own eyes in the mirror and whispered, "If they will not remember me kindly, they will remember me loudly." The words hung in the air, chilling and calm. I almost did not recognize my own voice. When I stepped into my apartment, the scent of lavender detergent mixed with the faint metallic tang of rain on my clothes. I kicked off my shoes, sat at my small kitchen table, and opened my laptop. The soft glow of the screen illuminated the room, casting long shadows against the walls. My fingers hovered over the keyboard for a moment before I began typing. I was not entirely sure what I was looking for, only that it was time to stop pretending I knew nothing. I searched through old emails, legal folders, tax records, files I had once managed for my father's estate. The deeper I went, the heavier my heartbeat became. I was not just reliving the past anymore. I was unearthing something that had been buried beneath the illusion of family love. When I found the first document that did not add up, my lips parted slightly in disbelief. Then, slowly, a smile crept onto my face, not out of joy, but understanding. That night, the quiet daughter finally spoke. Just not with words. It is strange how revenge never looks like rage when it is finally ready. It looks like stillness. It feels like focus. In the days after the party, I moved through the world like a ghost, quiet, polite, efficient. At work, I smiled at patients, changed IV bags, and charted vitals as if nothing inside me had changed. But every night, after my shift ended and the city dimmed to a hush, I sat at my kitchen table, piecing together the truth that had always been there, hidden in plain sight. When my father passed, I helped manage his estate. My mother said it was too complicated for Lily, so the paperwork had been left with me, the dependable one. I had all the passwords, the bank records, the trust fund statements. At the time, I did not question the withdrawals marked under family expenses. I assumed they were for medical bills or household maintenance. But now, staring at those same documents, I saw what I had missed. Tens of thousands of dollars quietly redirected to Lily's consulting business, which, after a few searches, turned out to be nothing more than a shell company. Payments for event planning, travel, and marketing, all siphoned from my father's trust. The same trust that was supposed to cover his medical costs and later be divided between both daughters. I scrolled through the numbers again and again, each line item cutting deeper. It was not just about money. It was about betrayal wearing the mask of family duty. So I began collecting everything: screenshots, emails, transfer receipts. I printed copies, highlighting signatures, dates, and the names that connected it all. The more evidence I gathered, the calmer I became. The quiet daughter was no longer invisible. By Thursday, my plan was ready. I created an anonymous email account and attached the files to 2 recipients: the board members of the company that handled my father's estate, and a local journalist who had once written about charitable trust fraud. I did not include my name. I did not need to. The next Sunday was Lily's engagement brunch, a lavish event at a downtown restaurant with floor-to-ceiling windows and a champagne fountain that sparkled under the light. I wore a simple blue dress and sat near the end of the table. I watched the room buzz with laughter and shallow compliments, everyone admiring Lily's ring as she waved her hand dramatically. Halfway through the meal, Daniel's phone buzzed. Then my mother's. Then 2 of my father's former business partners, seated near the front. One by one, smiles began to fade. Murmurs replaced laughter. Phones were passed around, screens glowing with the same headline: "Local family under investigation for misuse of charitable trust funds." The color drained from Lily's face. My mother's fork slipped from her hand, clattering against the fine china. Daniel stood up, whispering, "What is this, Lily?" His voice carried across the table, sharp with disbelief. Lily stammered, I don't know. There must be a mistake. But the panic in her eyes betrayed her. I sat back, sipping my coffee, watching the perfect image of our family crumble. It was not joy that filled me, it was quiet justice. The truth at last was louder than their laughter had ever been. After the brunch dissolved into chaos, my mother found me outside in the parking lot. Her heels clicked furiously against the pavement as she approached. "You did this," she hissed, eyes blazing. "You think I don't know? You think I can't see it in your face?" I met her glare without flinching. "You taught me to take care of family," I said softly. "I just finally did." She took a step closer, her voice trembling between anger and fear. "You'll ruin us, Rachel." I tilted my head slightly. "No, Mother. You ruined us the moment you decided one daughter mattered more than the other." She stood frozen, words trapped behind pride and panic. For once, she had nothing left to say. That night, I went back to their house one last time. The lights were off. The air smelled faintly of lilies and stale perfume. I placed the unopened scrapbook, the one from Lily's birthday, on the kitchen counter, but this time it was heavier. Inside, I had replaced the blank sentimentality with something else. Copies of every document, every transfer, every proof of what they had done. On the first page, I slipped in a letter, handwritten, steady, and honest. It read, "For years I tried to be the daughter you wanted, the helper, the quiet one. But silence is not love, and loyalty is not blindness. This is my goodbye, not out of hate, but out of truth." I tied it again with the same pale blue ribbon and walked out without looking back. The house stood still behind me, dark and silent. Finally, a stage with no audience, and for the first time in my life, I did not feel invisible. Karma does not always arrive like thunder. Sometimes it comes quietly, dressed in headlines and whispered phone calls. A week after the engagement brunch, the news spread like wildfire. The story of the Summers family trust scandal was everywhere. Local channels, online blogs, even a short segment on the evening radio. The same family that prided itself on image and prestige was now being publicly dissected, one secret at a time. Lily was the first to fall. Her company suspended her indefinitely while the investigation unfolded. By the end of the month, she resigned. Daniel, her fiancé, released a short statement, polite but cold, announcing that the engagement had been postponed indefinitely. In their world, that meant over. My mother tried to do damage control, calling lawyers, meeting with accountants, begging for privacy. But the truth had already taken root. Reputation once cracked never fits back together the same way. And then came the voicemails. Her voice, usually sharp and commanding, sounded small for the first time. Rachel, sweetheart, I want to talk. I think there's been a misunderstanding. We can fix this. Another message came 2 days later, trembling and raw. I did not mean to make you feel unseen. You have always been special in your own way. Special. Even her apologies came wrapped in hierarchy. I sat on my couch, the light from the phone screen glowing against my face as I listened. Then I deleted each message one by one. Not out of cruelty, but peace. Some bridges are not meant to be rebuilt. Some silences are the only truth left standing. A few days later, I walked through the park near my apartment. It was early evening. The sun dipped low, the sky streaked with amber and violet. Families laughed in the distance, children chasing bubbles that shimmered before disappearing. I felt the chill of the breeze on my skin, the rhythm of my footsteps steady against the path. In the past, I would have filled this silence with thoughts, guilt, doubt, maybe even regret. But now it feels sacred. I thought of Lily, of my mother, of all the years I mistook obedience for love. They had lost their image, yes, but I had found my voice. And that was worth more than forgiveness or revenge could ever offer. Sometimes silence is not an absence. It is an answer. It is louder than shouting, more permanent than rage. That was my peace, not in watching them fall, but in finally standing on my own. Peace does not always come as forgiveness. Sometimes it arrives as acceptance, a soft understanding that you cannot change the past, but you can stop letting it define you. After everything unraveled, I started therapy. Not to justify what I had done, but to understand why I had let it happen for so long, why I kept trying to earn love that was never freely given. My therapist asked me once, "When did you first learn that being quiet made people comfortable?" The question hit harder than I expected. I realized I had spent most of my life apologizing for taking up space, for wanting to be seen. Now, I do not apologize anymore. The nights feel different now. My apartment, once filled with the hum of old grief, feels lighter. I cook for myself, buy flowers when I can, and on weekends I sit near my window just to watch the city breathe. Sometimes I still think of them, my mother, my sister, but the ache has softened into something distant, almost peaceful. Last week, on my 33rd birthday, I did something small but sacred. I lit a single candle in my living room. No party, no gifts, no audience, just me. The flame flickered gently, reflected in the glass window beside me, and for the first time, I whispered, "Happy birthday" to myself. It felt strange at first, then right. I realized that being forgotten was not a curse. It was an invitation. A cue to start over, to rewrite my own story without waiting for permission. When your own family teaches you that love must be earned, the bravest thing you can do is stop trying. The candle burned lower, and the city outside hummed softly, cars passing, laughter echoing from somewhere below. I smiled at the sound, at the quiet life I had built for myself. Sometimes, I whispered to the flame, the best gift you can give is goodbye. The wick flickered once more before settling into a steady glow, not bright, not loud, but enough. Enough for me. I know my story is not just mine. Someone out there has lived this too. So tell me, when was the moment you finally stopped trying to earn love? Let's talk in the comments, and if this story touched you, share it. Someone out there needs to hear it tonight.